Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Stimulating Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Rich Vogel. Let's jump right in today. Here is part 2 of my interview with entrepreneur and medtech leader, Logan McKnight. Enjoy. Imagine that somebody listening to this show is a director of operations or vice president or CEO, and they're like, you know what? I see some things that I need to do here that I could really put into place to help my team, but I don't quite know where to start because there's a lot, right? What do you think might be a good first step or a couple steps that they can put into place to actually start to generate some? I mean, really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is culture.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's a culture of inspiring people, of mentoring people, of building teamwork that actually builds a strong company. And I think a lot of that gets lost in the mix. Yeah,
Oh,
what are your thoughts?
I mean, another shameless plug is like honestly hire a consultant. But I did that many times when I was a VP and became the CEO out in Seattle. I brought on consultants, and one of the things that I did, especially when I realized it was a few years into COVID, we had gone through a couple rounds of we Pacific Northwest went through it was gut punch after gut punch every 6 weeks. It was like hospital shutdowns, mandates, all the things. It was a constant moving target. And our team was like, I had to enact pay cuts. I had to enact layoffs. That burns trust. And I knew it. I knew there were things that were broken. And then we didn't have couldn't touch each other, couldn't see each other. There are no trust falls. There are no going out to the bars to try to get people together. So it was like that rift just kept cracking and cracking and cracking. So we brought in a group to interview every member of our team and totally anonymously and get their feedback of what the problems were at the company and what we needed to do to fix it. And that first 360 feedback loop was so important. And honestly, I used to do that as a manager. I used to send out a Monday or Survey Monkey form to people and be like, give me your, how am I doing? Whether it was company mandated or not, I just did it because I was obsessed with my own development and how I was doing and having people have a safe space that they could speak up. That feedback I think was the first thing. And then once you know the problems and you put together the strategy, you got to get buy-in from your team, right? You talk to them. Don't say, here's a strategy we came up with. Come to them and say, hey, a CEO town hall, right? You can talk back to me too. I'm going to roll out what I think will work. What's your guys' feedback on it? And then pull them, ask them. You might not get them speaking up on a call. That's pretty natural, but get the feedback, the pathways to get the feedback. And then once you got the plan, people are bought into it because it's their plan too. It's not just your, plan is the knight in shining armor going to save your team. You built it with them, with their feedback, and then your ideas, and then their ideas. And even if their particular idea doesn't get put into the action plan, just the fact that you cared enough to talk about it and to put it into action creates a culture in my mind. I think that's extremely time consuming, but man, it was a hugely impactful way of shifting and course correcting the culture.
I love that. It's a really good point. It makes me think about how and why so many companies grew up, mergers and acquisitions, because my experience, here's what happens. You bring in all of the employees from the acquired company, and
Mm-hmm.
some suit walks out that nobody knows and nobody trusts, and they want to talk about how great the company is that just bought your company and how happy they are to have you. And it falls on deaf ears because everybody's like, I don't trust this dude or this woman,
No.
right? And it shows, in my mind, a real transparent lack of empathy because you're not doing anything to establish trust with this new company.
Yeah.
Now, you could come out and say something like, listen, I want to be really honest with you. I know that you are skeptical of me in this company. We just purchased your company and you probably don't trust me. And that's okay. We don't know each other. Frankly, if we're being honest, we might not trust each other, but let's earn each other's trust. Let's start there. I've never heard anybody have even remotely that conversation. Some dude comes out in a suit and he's like, let me tell you how happy I am to have you and how great our company is and why you're going to be successful. And it's all horseshit.
Yeah.
And everybody walks out thinking, well, don't trust that guy. Don't trust that gal. And you can't build from there except you're building on a foundation of lack of trust.
Yeah, I mean, a foundation of like, you guys are here and I'm here, right? I think that was like also just an in general message that I got a lot in my career, especially like when I got up to like the CEO seat. And I don't know if you've gotten this, like as you've been in the CEO seat now, like your executive presence is supposed to be, you never admit weakness. You'd never, ever admit you made a mistake. And it's like, me, those were such core like moments of trust building with my team. In fact, I was one of the things I'm posting about it tomorrow is something, or I guess if this episode comes out, but anyway, it's something that happened during COVID with my team. We had to enact another pay cut. And the first one we did, my team gave me the feedback of, like they voted, they helped me get to the point of like, here's what we need to do. How are we going to get there? They helped me put it together to get there. We were supposed to have a 10% pay cut for 6 months. We lifted it after 4, which was awesome. A year and a half later, we were just getting hit again and again, and we had to do another one. The message I got right after I lifted the pay cut, or even during it, from a lot of people were, hey, this isn't fair. Like, this team out in Eastern Oregon is busting their rear end, and like we aren't doing anything, or vice versa. Like, we're bringing in all the revenue and this group isn't doing anything, and like nobody could travel, right? It was just a perfect storm of division. I thought, well, I don't want that. This next pay cut, what I'll do is I'll do it quota based. So whoever covers the less amount of cases gets the biggest cut. Holy shit, was that the wrong move? Like, I talk about it often with my team. I thought I had solved every problem. The reality is like, even the people who complained that it wasn't fair, once it was there, I think they saw, even if they were working more, like they didn't want to they saw it as taking away from their other members of their team. They're like, if I'm covering more cases, I'm taking someone's paycheck. So they made sure people with families and people with like really tight budgets and that type of thing were getting the cases first. And then they were divvying it up amongst themselves. So what I basically did was really unified my team against me. And then also, the solution that we needed to try to do cost savings didn't end up doing anything because they stratified it through the way they scheduled. And I wasn't going to take that. I mean, I was like, yes, we made it work and we figured it out. But like, I talked about it often, how that whatever was going on with our trust, when I talk about trust being broken, like it was worse. And I openly addressed it like, hey, I made the wrong call. I'm sorry I didn't talk to you guys beforehand. And everyone said, we wish we would have just done the same thing of just taken the straight pay cut for everybody across the board. And that's another thing, like, I think a lesson as a leader is like, you have to realize like a lot of people are going to put their blame on you as a leader one way or another, or like they're not happy. And like, you have to be able to shoulder that. You're never going to make everybody happy. But if you listen to them and try to do right by your team and live to your values, like I said, like, it's a lot easier versus this, like, I'm going to try to make everybody happy and solve every single problem on my own. And I just look back at like the good intent, like the path to hell is paved in good intentions. And that's exactly what I did. Was like, I thought I was solving the problem. And also I thought, I don't want to stress them out again by like having them have to think about this or talking about it. I'll just make the decision and take the stress like off anybody else and just put the onus on me. Like I said, just wrong move. Like just, my team, and for better or worse, my team let me know, like, we wish we would have just done this, and lesson learned for me. Like, I will always advocate for including, especially your leadership team. Like, if you're an upper leader and like you have managers, they're not children. Like, even if they are in their 20s, even if they are, like, they have real responsibilities. They are covering surgeries every single day, and they're making sure their team of whether it be 2 or 20 get to where they need to go. They are not kids. Do not treat them like kids, and include them in these decisions and talk about the real problems that are going on, like with the company and the industry, and people will be really surprised and impressed, like how their leadership team and how their team in general shows up when you share that, like you said, that level of vulnerability. Like we got it. That's how you earn trust, right? Like you've got to take the wall down somehow.
And not overstress how important this is. And I really genuinely believe that a core, if not the core characteristic of a good leader is exactly that. I mean, boil it down to one word, it's accountability. But
Mhm.
that means being vulnerable. It means admitting when you make a mistake. It means not showing or not pretending that you're superhuman or that you don't have some weaknesses or something like that. I know when somebody comes to me and says, you know what, maybe I complain about something, and say, you know what, I made a mistake here. I could have done this differently. That builds trust like anything else that you could possibly do. Because now I know that this person is genuine.
Yeah.
And, if you're a leader that is like constantly engaging in bravado and, doesn't believe in admitting mistakes or sharing weaknesses, there's 100% guarantee you that nobody that reports to you trusts you.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. You look at like the people who I admire as leaders, like Richard Branson and like Simon Sinek. Like they're very open and very vulnerable about like what leaders should be. And I'm gonna like feel like this is my soapbox, but it drives me crazy how there are all these books on leaderships and there are all these TED Talks on leadership. And like the principles are very simple. It's like it's not the golden rule, it's the platinum rule. You treat others how they want to be treated. But leadership doesn't do it. They just don't. They everybody, reads the things and like how to be more efficient, but like they forget the people part. And like if you can nail the people part and get trust with your people and get them all like sharing the values, sharing the vision, and like rowing the same direction, like there's something really special that happens when you do that. Like you don't need to enact like this crazy hybrid, okay, well if you do this many cases at the end of the month you get a $20 gift card to Starbucks, and oh my, you know what, I think this is going to fix like our attrition problem. Like sorry, it's not going to work. Like it's hard work creating culture. It's even harder work fixing culture and repairing trust.
Absolutely. Here's my nerd moment here. I'm an avid reader of Harvard Business Review. And I'll tell you one of the things that I hate about it, which is I love that they have articles on just about every topic, from finance and investing to culture and management and everything in between. Not in every single issue, but just in general, over the course of the year, they really address every topic. The thing that I hate about it is every single article has an executive summary and it's got 3 bullet points. Like basically, this is what it's about. And there isn't a single thing that you can gain from reading those executive summaries. And I know people do it. It's the same people who go, they pick up some CEO book at the airport and they page through it and read the chapter headings and maybe look at a couple diagrams and then say that they read the book. The meat is in the article, the meat is in the book. And I mean, I know people have bookshelves full of that stuff. I guarantee had never read any of them. They'll tell you that they did, but they didn't because of the way they act and the way
Yeah.
they manage or the way they lead. And but, and I'm not plugging Harvard Business Review. You can read whatever you want. I just, I've been a long time reader of it and I get a lot of good information out of it. But, the executive summaries I think they're kind of a lazy approach and they don't give you the information that's really, there's really some great information in those articles.
Yeah. I mean, I think, to be honest, I was during my like tenure as a CEO, I spent maybe less than that of the time like reading, educating myself on how to be a good leader than I do now currently now that I don't have I don't want to say like the burden, but like all of the responsibilities that I had as a CEO of a neuromonitoring company, service company, and neurologist and a billing company. And then we had a company in India. Like I was not keeping my head above water, and I was also not innovating myself, or like, you know what I mean? I wasn't like open to learn. So that picture of the person drowning, like fast forward 20 years, I was doing it all over again as a CEO. But like you have to do that. Like, so that's why I say like learning to create boundaries now as a leader, if you're a manager, like that will follow you throughout your career, because if you're a CEO, you should be taking way more time, be doing vision, strategy, developing yourself, because that's only going to develop your team and your company. If you challenge yourself and like your preconceived notions and like your ideals of like what needs to happen, and especially innovating, like this industry so desperately needs to innovate. I feel like it's just starting to. I feel like there's just like with the AI stuff and like just with like the way we're opening up forums and talking about stuff. But like I feel like when I started almost 20 years ago, it's very similar to what it was when I started. And for a healthcare technology company or like, industry, that's wild. I mean, look at like spinal hardware and how long and how far it's come in 20 years. And like neuromonitoring, we're still sticking people with needles and, and managing like through burnout. Why? Why can't we learn from our mistakes and not be like, oh, it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage to almost drive your car off road because you are covering a late night add-on and haven't slept. Like, no, let's learn from our mistakes and continually be better and like take the time to do that. And that comes from leadership. Honestly, it starts there.
Yeah, and caring about your people, genuinely caring about them,
Yeah.
as if they're people. They're not widgets, and there's not enough of that, I don't think.
Yeah.
I certainly, to be fair, I in neurodiagnostics came from the mindset of everything's a rite of passage, but that was ignorance. It was ignorance that was ingrained into me. It was ignorance that I had to rise above and just think about everything from operations to finance to individual employees, how to think about them in order to run a successful organization. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, they just don't do that. Either they're too far removed or they don't care. And there is, well documented high percentage of people who are have sort of psychopathy or narcissism or both in leadership in all sectors. Just sort of attracts people like that, and both of those personality types are really fundamentally incapable of caring about other people, and
Yeah.
and that's why they end up in those positions. Because if you don't care about people, you can have the most profitable organization, because you know drive people to burnout and attrition because you keep their salaries low and you work them hard. And
Yeah.
that's just not the way to function as an organization.
Well, I mean, to your point, like, I think that's so prevalent because it's like, I mean, like, if you were to ask someone to draw a picture of a CEO, or if you ask AI, like, make a picture of a CEO, it's going to be a guy, in a suit with that powerful disposition. And like, you can probably imagine how they speak, how they're going to act with you. I mean, one of the things I remember when I became a CEO, I was only 34. And I remember like, I would go out and I was like almost embarrassed to tell people as a CEO, or it was very hard in my personal life to tell people because I expected almost immediate judgment. And so often I would have people be like, "You're a CEO? I would have never guessed, for better or worse." And, I think at first, like I took it personally, like I needed to be like, maybe I needed to buy more couture. I don't know. But like, I'm not a handbag girly, so sorry. But I realized pretty quickly, like I actually liked that was like one of the good things about my leadership style, is the fact that I wanted to be approachable. I wanted people to be able to come to me because I do think it's the problem. I mean, like, I not to soapbox again, but not just our industry, but look at like just America as a whole. Like we're in a recession, yet CEO like pays like $40 million for like, I think the CEO of Boeing, and Boeing's like a failing company, basically got like a 45% raise to almost like $40 million. And their people got like a 1% raise over 8 years. Like, you cannot tell me that we're not like that. Like, at some point, you got to realize like pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. We're becoming hogs. How do we stop that? How do we stop like the like this greedy, this narcissistic mindset of like, I need to be right? There is a way to get feedback and not let it crush you, and then but also still care. Like, I think that's a way more unique person than the narcissistic person who doesn't want to hear any negative feedback because they're so fragile it's going to crush them.
Yeah.
Or the person who crumples up into a ball and as soon as someone tells them they did something wrong, they're like, well, I quit. If I'm so bad at this, I'm going to quit. Like, you have to be something different than that. You have to be a person who takes the criticism and is like, this is great. This is great because now I can do something. Now I can build towards something. Now I can make a change. Now I can be better than I was yesterday because I have this information. That is a unique person.
Mhm.
But like, man, when you can do that, it's a very cool feeling. And it took me a very long time to realize like that's actually an option. So
Absolutely, it is. That's big. When I joined your last leadership seminar that you had, which I really
mhm.
enjoyed, by the way, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta have Logan on the show, right? One of the things that I asked was really around that topic, and I did it for two reasons. One is I was genuinely interested, and two is I wanted to start a conversation because sometimes people, they join, but they don't want to be the first to ask a question, right? To seem dumb. So I asked a very vulnerable question. And, it had to do with criticism, which is something that over the last, couple of years, I've transparently struggled with in different ways. I think if somebody knows me and they're a genuine person and they have some constructive criticism, I'm 100% on board. Like, let's talk about it. That's awesome. It makes me better. But it's really when somebody is just sort of intends to cause pain by going behind your back and spreading lies about you. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, how do I deal with this? And I'll tell you that I was back in Philadelphia last weekend, right? And a lot of my friends were talking about this New Heights podcast, which is the Kelsey brothers from football. I'm sure, some people have probably heard of it. So I went to
This
listen to
Taylor Swift person,
Well, I went to listen to that episode because I was curious. I mean, it had like what 100 million watches in 24 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I
That's
think
all
her
you need to
last.
do, by the way. You just need to get T Swift on your podcast.
Oh my God! Yeah, like her. I mean, I don't know a single song of hers, but I was intrigued, and you know, the last time that she released a song, within 24 hours, 1 in 6 people in the world listened to it. It had 1.5 billion listens in 24 hours. Like, holy shit. So I wanted to listen to this. And she said something that was really interesting to me. It's just kind of a loose quote. So I'm going to quote Taylor Swift here.
Oh, you're going to have Swifties coming for you if you misquote.
Well, I'll keep the spirit of it anyway. And I think it's, it just shows her absolute brilliance. And I mean, so many things that she does seem brilliant to me. But they were talking about how she deals with social media and just the media in general and people attacking her and like saying things about her, like that she's pregnant or that she's like engaged, all this stuff. And she said something to the effect of, my time and my attention, I consider to be a luxury item. Not everybody can afford it. And she went on to say that, if somebody hasn't invested in her time and money, sorry, her time and attention, right? They haven't given that investment to her, then she's not holding any capital to care about
Yeah.
what it is they have to say. And I sat and thought about that because I was sitting on a plane listening to this, right? And I sat and thought about it for a while. And I was like, you know what? Fuck all those people that have anything negative to say about me that don't know me or that do know me and want to lie about me. They've not given me any investment and I hold no capital in caring what it is that they have to say. So instead of going around and trying to clean up people's messes and, worrying about my reputation because of some dickhead, right? I'm just going to be like, I don't care. The time
Yeah.
and attention is a luxury item, and I'll focus it on the people who are invested in me
Yeah.
and whose capital I hold in my time and my energy and my interest. So sometimes somebody just says something that really resonates with you. And in this particular context, it was Taylor Swift. Pretty sure she doesn't listen to this podcast, but if she does, thank you.
That's aspirational, right? That the Kelsey brothers and Taylor Swift are listening to stimulating stuff right now.
Honestly, I'd be worried about any one of them if they did.
Man, Yeah, I mean, it's funny. As soon as you said the podcast, I almost was like, I wonder if he's going to bring up this quote because I did hear about that too, and I love it. I love it so much because to be honest, like before I put myself out there, like I started this idea to coach and consult, and right when I like left my company. And I put up the website. I think I like did 2 posts on LinkedIn that were very formal. And then and I only did it through my company's page. And then I was like, okay, now I wait, right? Like now I wait for the people to come. And then nothing happened. And I went and I got another job. And after a little while, I realized like, I really want to do this. I still had people coming to me. I really believed in it. And I was like, but I honestly didn't know if I had the strength to deal with what people thought. I kept thinking, oh my God, what if I put out something and it's cringy, or like people are like, who is she? Why does she think she can do this? What does she have and then I read Let Them by Mel Robbins. And if nobody, if you haven't read that book or listened to it, I listen to a ton of books, 'cause I have terrible ADHD. But I get so much from that. That book is amazing. It basically, to your point, is the fuck them. Do what you're. Why would you let anyone else rob you of your happiness? Why would you let anybody else rob you of what you are supposed to be doing? If like I said, if you know your values and you're trying your best, like you can sleep really well at night regardless of what people are saying, because like that's your truth and that. And for me, I knew, I mean, I'm like, I'm going to be really bad at this. I'm going to try to build a company on my own that's based on something I'm extremely passionate about, but I have no experience. Like I haven't worked for Deloitte. I haven't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not an HR leader. I haven't gone through a certified coaching program. I just believe in these principles. And I know people are going to say things, but you know what? Like I'm getting enough people coming to me grateful for what I'm putting out there, and then the conversations and the solutions we're putting out there, that like this is the momentum I needed. Even if people come to me and are like, people aren't going to pay for this and companies aren't going to do this. I get that. I get that a lot, but I believe that there's a tide turning, and I believe so much with conviction that this is how you should operate and companies should treat people, that I'm going to just keep doing it until it succeeds. And I think like that's almost the mindset you have to have about yourself, is like, if you fail, you're not a failure. That just comes with life. Like that comes with you being brave and doing something that you're not good at. Like that's true bravery, is putting yourself out there publicly and challenging, yourself. Like, gotta go do it. And everybody else who has anything negative to say, because at the end of the day, like, they're not in your corner, and that is way more about them than it's ever going to be about you and what you're doing. Like if they have anything negative to say, unless you are actively like hitting them or something, or just, actually hurting them, that's way more about them. And you can't fix them. All you can do is focus on you and what you're doing. So just like let your energy flow that direction and forward. It's just where it's got to be. So I love that. Your energy is your Birkin bag.
I absolutely agree. And to piggyback off of something that you said, recently heard Mel Robbins on a podcast, not hers, but somebody else's. And my wife listens to her podcast, and I overhear it, and I actually started listening to it. I really like the message that she has. But when it comes to the book that just came out, I have not read that yet, but I heard her summary of the book in talking about it on this podcast. Let Them, and it's very intriguing. It's a very strong, empowering message. And I think if this is something that anybody who's listening is struggling with, that's a really good place to start, is to check out that book, or at least check out her podcast and some of the messaging around the Let Them movement. I think it's so genuine. Like when I think about Sheryl Sandberg and her lean in movement,
Yeah.
not quite as powerful, not quite as convincing, but this Let Them, I think this is a real movement, particularly in the context of the world that we live in, where people feel empowered and emboldened to anonymously attack other people, particularly online. And how do you deal with that? Let them. Just let them.
Yeah.
Let me handle it differently. Let
Yeah.
me just continue to do the right thing, continue to embrace my values and move forward, and let them talk their shit.
Yeah. No,
I love it.
I totally agree. I mean, I think that that's the shift that has to happen. And I remember I brought two people onto my team a year ago, a quick story, and they knew each other and they did not like each other, and they came on my team and everybody was well oiled. This was before COVID, and like, you know, they take care of each other. And then these two would actively do things to talk shit, to like not give each other breaks, to if and there was an add-on and the person needed electrodes, like the other person would just leave the hospital. Like, it was so bad that I had to meet with them individually. And I was like, are you this person? Are you this person? Are you a person who doesn't give breaks? Are you a person who might endanger a patient by not like giving your teammates by? And they're like, no, but that person. Well, I don't care. I don't care what that person did to you, because it's making you a bad person. You are justifying your actions and your behavior. And so now you're becoming this person, and that is toxic. So I think that's like an important also thing to remember is like, do not let somebody else, like, don't justify behavior that's outside of your values because somebody does something and you feel like you need to retaliate too. It's so easy, right, in this day and age to like just be like, well, they did it, they deserve it. Like, you know, I'm a personal believer in karma. I think that comes with, you know, that's a T Swift thing too. So karma is going to show up. But yeah, that's, I think if like a takeaway, you're right. Like from this, maybe be like, you know, just take care of yourself, let them, and like, and act in your own values. Like just don't, even if you see other people and maybe you see people beating each other up, like other managers, or like you're like, my manager was rough, stop the cycle. Somebody has to step up and stop the cycle. And if you know something is wrong in your heart and a behavior pattern isn't good, stop the cycle. Like, just you be the person who does it. No matter how challenging it is, that you would be so grateful that you stood up for yourself and your values and you just stood your ground.
Love that. And I think that's a really good message for us to end on. I know we've been talking for a while. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm so happy that you joined me. I want to have you back on. I mean, I think that we could just talk for hours. And I think that your message is so empowering. And I love what you're doing to develop other people. You're clearly invested in making this a better world, making people better managers. And those are the types of people that I choose to surround myself with. Exactly you. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Rich. This was awesome. I'm so grateful, and I hope people took away something that like lifts them up today, and like they realize like they can do it, and they can, you know what I mean? Like this, I think this is what we're here for. Like, we got to help each other out. So I'm really grateful. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. You can submit your questions and comments to the Rich Vogel subreddit or via email to stimulatingstuffpodcast@gmail.com. I always love hearing from you. I'm Rich Vogel, and that was Stimulating Stuff.